Hello, my name is Robbie Ward. I'm the government and politics reporter for the Daily Journal. Today we have with us Mayor Jason Shelton of Tupelo. Today marks his 1 year anniversary serving in elected office, his first elected position. He has joined us today to discuss his first year in office, issues that have happened. Also, he's going to discuss his plans immediately for the city looking forward and also long-term plans. Mayor Shelton, I certainly appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Robbie. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my first Google Hangout, so I'm pretty excited about it, and just appreciate any opportunity to, to interact with people, the Tupelo area about their concerns here in Tupelo.
Well, for those of you out there who read the story I had in Sunday's paper about your first year in office, certainly the two main issues or major issues that really seem to to embody some of your main challenges came from the December 23rd shooting and also the April 28th tornado. And certainly as a candidate running for mayor of Tupelo, this is something that you never could have expected you would encounter. Tell me about how it's been to to be in charge of a city during such times of crisis.
Well, certainly just nothing fun about it. The December 23rd shooting was just absolutely devastating to the morale of the city of Tupelo, to our citizens, to, of course, the family of Sergeant Stauffer, both his wife and children, and his mother, who's a city employee, the entire police department. I, you know, it was just a terribly difficult time to go through that, and then you add on, on top of that, that the way it happened, the time at which it happened, it was just really difficult to endure. But with that said, as difficult as it was for me, I can't imagine what those the men and women of Tupelo Police Department went through as far as their response with the impact that it had on me. I couldn't imagine what those men and women went through. And you hear people talk about the bond of law enforcement, the togetherness, how tight knit they are, but until you see that firsthand, like we did at the Law Enforcement Command Center, you just don't have any real appreciation of how tight knit of a group of individuals that serve in law enforcement. They just refused to go home. They refused. They worked. A lot of them worked without pay, and the hours they put in, and you could just see the emotional toll on them. And then in the wake of the shooting, you saw that just tremendous, Tupelo spirit come together, the spirit of unity. We had hundreds of people, be here at Fair Park for a prayer vigil on Christmas night. When we got here, we were prepared to set up. Everything was already set up for us. Volunteer groups came in, set up sound system, everything else for that prayer vigil. And then the funeral procession was, I don't think there were many dry eyes in either the vehicles or on the side of the street. It was just overwhelming emotionally to see that kind of outpouring of community support. Here in Tupelo, from whether it's patriotic or words of sympathy, the posters, it was just amazing to watch and see the city come together. And thankfully we with the incident in Phoenix involving the robber, we got some closure on that just before New Year's, so that was good to allow us to begin the healing process. And then the second part of your question, dealing with the tornado, it's very difficult, and there's an emotional toll. It's a different kind of stress and difficulty than losing one of our own. As the tornado is absolutely devastation devastating as far as the property and the homes, right at 300 homes destroyed, 20 businesses. But those things can be rebuilt, and we're going to rebuild, and we're going to come back even stronger before. I think what I said in one of the initial interviews is that we're battered but not beaten, that the Tupelo spirit will prevail again, and I firmly believe that.
Sure, and just to make everyone know, or let everyone know, Brad Locke, our online editor, has joined us. And for anyone out there who has questions, they can send us questions directly through their Google Plus account, or you can send us questions on Twitter using the hashtag DJTUP. And again, our guest today is Mayor Jason Shelton. And so when you were elected a year ago, or just more than a year ago, you became the first Democrat to serve as mayor of Tupelo in almost 3 decades. And there was a lot of talk about partisan politics, that kind of stuff. And so, have you encountered any type of partisan party politics? And if you haven't, has there been any other type of divides or things along those lines since you've been in office?
Well, I'm proud to be a Democrat. I believe that the Democrat Party is the party of, the kind of the working man's party, so to speak. But what I said during the campaign and what I believe is 100% true today is that there's not a Democrat or Republican way to fix a pothole. That those type partisan issues are just not applicable to the issues facing the city of Tupelo. In exactly 1 year of being in office, there has not been one single issue that I thought was partisan. There's just not been a single thing that I can think of that we've done in the last year since I've been in office that there was a Democrat way to do it or a Republican way to do it or a third party way to do it. We have issues that face our city that require us to roll up our sleeves and work together and get the job done, and that's what we've done. There's issues that come up with the council of whether we agree or disagree, but I don't think there has been any type of partisanship involved in that.
Sure. Well, well, I guess back to the April 28th tornado,
Hmm.
we do have a question from a member or from a resident of the Joyner neighborhood, Leslie Mart. And the question that she has relates to uh, pickup of debris on the private property. She says, what can be done about landlords that are not removing tornado damaged trees and debris or making repairs to their rental properties?
But first, before I get into answering and or doing my best to answer that question, I want to thank Leslie for everything she's done. She has been absolutely phenomenal since the April 28th tornado. She has been involved every step of the way, was passionately advocating for her neighborhood, for the city of Tupelo. She was instrumental and led the charge, really, in getting the Conservation Overlay District passed by the Joyner Neighborhood Association, which will be voted on again this week by the City Council. So I first want to just thank Leslie for all that she's done. She's just been incredible. As far as the landlords and what they're doing, it will have to follow the same process as it otherwise would of a landlord not taking care of their property. So it may not be as quick of a fix as we would hope for. When the landlord, the property owner, if they're not doing something they should, will have to go through the same process that they would now, or excuse me, in a different part of the city, or that they would before April 28th. And that's just the process you have to go through of sometimes the condemnation process, sometimes it's a code violation citation, just the different tools that are available through basically the code enforcement division of developmental services here at City Hall. Sometimes you have to go through legal proceedings. So, unfortunately, while there are remedies, there's no quick and easy solution to them not doing what they should be doing on behalf of their tenants. Now, hopefully, some of the things that we're doing through MEMA and FEMA, through the efforts of the United Way, which has just been phenomenal in disaster relief, hopefully, some of those uh, things that we'll be doing will be able to help some of that. But at the end of the day, it will come down to the landlord's responsibility, and we'll have to go through whatever process is necessary to get the property back up to code.
Okay, sure. And and uh, just to let everyone out there know, there is a special called recess meeting at Thursday Thursday at 6 o'clock. Is that correct?
That's right. Thursday evening, Thursday, July 3rd at 6 p.m. will be both public hearing and the final council vote on the Joyner Conservation District.
Sure. And I know that I know there's been interest in the neighborhood conservation overlay districts and other neighborhoods, but along the lines of damage to residential areas and businesses and even city and other government property, do you have a recent estimate of what the total cost of damage of the tornado has been for the entire city?
Yeah. There is not a estimate of kind of total damage that I have been made aware of. It's going to be in the tens of millions of dollars. Some of the properties, the hotel properties on North Gloucester Street, you're probably talking about a $5 to $10 million building, in and of itself on those two hotel properties that were both destroyed. You've got those other commercial properties, shopping center, all along there. Benelli's restaurant, certainly $1 million building. So you're talking about in the tens of millions of dollars just on North Gloucester Street. So then you get into the neighborhoods from, Bristow Acres, Joyner, Rogers Drive in Lakeshire, Lynn Circle, Sharon Hills, and you get into the North Green Street area, which is a lot of mainly government-owned properties that were damaged there. Then into Vista Ridge, over to Old South Taylor Road or County 811. So you're talking about tens of millions of dollars of damage, but there's not a final or set estimate of that dollar amount that I have been made aware of yet.
Sure. And prior to the tornado, many issues existed in Tupelo that that you discussed when you ran for mayor and also have continued to discuss since you've been in office. One of the key, or I guess one of the most discussed issues has been Tupelo neighborhoods. Many of them through the years have declined. One in particular is the West Jackson area in the city. During the Jack Reed Jr. administration, initiated the West Jackson redevelopment project, a roughly $3 million city-led project in association with the Neighborhood Development Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you ran for office, you said that you had support for, or you supported that particular project there, but you would not support something along those lines in other parts of the city. And do you mind telling us about any type of ideas or proposals that could extend to other parts of the city with declining neighborhood issues?
Yeah, sure. As far as West Jackson, it's unique in several aspects. One, if you fly into Tupelo, that's your gateway into the city. You come down Jackson Street, so that's the first thing you see. And secondly, you've got the proximity to the Joyner neighborhood, which is, kind of a young professional neighborhood. Your soccer moms, your families with small children. And third, you had the crime and the blight that was, centralized in that corridor of Jackson Street. So I support that because those factors all combined require some sort of massive effort that typically only a government could do. So I think that the city was justified in going into Jackson Street. I think the project will be a success. I think it'll be a game changer for that part of the city and will have a very positive impact on it. Now, my opposition, I have a philosophical opposition to the city of Tupelo being in the real estate business. It's not, to me, an appropriate government function to be involved in real estate speculation or real estate investing, to turn the property over to a private individual for the purpose of making a profit. And I realize that that's been done other parts of the city, other cities, but that's not something that I think is an appropriate government function. Secondly is, the city of Tupelo just can't afford it. We had, prior to the tornado, $18 million in reserves. Prior to the West Jackson Street project, you had 21 million basically in reserves, and that's a $3 million project and probably will not be done for $3 million. So when you talk about that project and the expense with it, where do the city simply can't afford to do that all over the city. So you've got the basic protecting our reserves, and the reserves are important because of April 28th, a tornado may hit the city, and you have to have that money to be able to operate. That is just, it's a rainy day fund for a reason. And I'm sorry, Rob. The second part of that is it will become a political decision of where do you go next. You don't have the money to go all over the city, so who gets to decide where that money goes next? Do we spend it over in East Tupelo and spend $3 million to buy up a street there and turn it over to private development? Do we do it in South Tupelo, or do we do it in some other part of the city? And so that's why I have an objection to doing that when you don't have the ability to go citywide with it. And I don't think there's another part of the city that really fits the criteria that Jackson Street project does.
Sure, and certainly many people have said that the West Jackson project seemed appropriate because it's very unique, but many people would say that not their neighborhood, the many neighborhoods in the city have had significant decline and possible blight in their areas, and they also need attention. Are there alternatives to a neighborhood redevelopment project that could be led in these areas?
Well, just on April 21st of this year, just a week before the tornado, we did the revitalization plan that I think you were there and covered and was reported in the paper to begin the process of citywide neighborhood revitalization that includes concepts similar to the Joyner Conservation District, but a neighborhood by neighborhood approach to redevelopment and revitalization. So those things are out there, and that's what we were actually, it just started that Team Tupelo approach, which is continuing the week before the tornado, and we'll continue to do that.
Sure.
With a kind of a toolbox approach of, we didn't get here overnight. There's not one quick, easy fix. There's not one set solution. That we're going to use every available tool that's appropriate for each individual neighborhood to go neighborhood by neighborhood revitalizing the city of Tupelo.
Sure, and just a moment ago, you mentioned how philosophically you oppose the city acquiring properties for redevelopment, but a lot of people would say that that's exactly what you and the city council did when you spent more than $2 million a couple of months ago to purchase the Azalea Gardens property. How is that project different from the very things that you say you oppose related to neighborhood redevelopment?
Well, I don't know that it is different. It's not something that I think the city should typically do. But just because I don't think something, just because it's not what I think should be done, doesn't mean we can't do it. And I don't know if I'm articulating that very well. What the Ida Street Azalea Gardens has some of the same problems that West Jackson does, and that you've got a high crime area, you've got the blight, and so sometimes you have to do things as a city to for the greater good that you don't particularly like doing. It was expensive. It is the purchase of property, but at the same time, there are parts of the city and our city and every growing city in the country that the problems have advanced to the stage that it's difficult to do it through the private sector, and sometimes the government has to come in and jumpstart it. That doesn't mean that I think that we should continue doing that, but at the same time, there's an opportunity to improve that section of the city, and I think the council made the right decision, and I certainly signed off on it, and we're going to do what we can to redevelop that portion of the city as well.
Sure. And when you took office, just the timing of the calendar year with the fiscal year, you had to jump right in and begin compiling your proposed budget to the city council. And correct me if I get this wrong, but the budget that you proposed, it did not include a tax increase. It did not include using any city reserves or taking out any additional debt to pay for expenses in the city's general fund. But really, one of the most controversial things to come out of that budget was the creation of an in-house city attorney instead of the outsourcing of legal services, which has been done for the most part of 40 years. And so, do you think that this has been a position or a decision that has worked? And also, the city has the agreement was that the city would pursue this for 1 year and evaluate how it works. Is this something that you will recommend continuing?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, you asked about the budget, and I was very proud that we had a very conservative budget, fiscally responsible budget, no new debt, no new taxes, didn't dip into our reserve funds. So we had a very sound, fiscally conservative budget. That did include the creation of an in-house legal counsel position, and in the article Sunday mentioned the figure of saving the city $10,000 a month. I think since April 28th, it would save the city a tremendous, a much higher amount if we outsourced all the work that Ben has done since April 28th. There's no telling what it would cost. Ben has done a phenomenal job. I absolutely intend on advocating for that position again, and would be very surprised if there's opposition.
Sure. And I guess still staying on the topic of department heads, you've had a number of vacancies in the department head positions, one of which was the development services position. The previous director, BJ Till, left, saying that the two of you had philosophical differences. Tell me about what makes your nominee, who was confirmed by the city council, Shane Hooper, as I've noted before, he does not have a background in planning or community development traditionally expected in these types of roles. What makes him a good fit for that position in the city, particularly in the context of tornado recovery?
Well, by and large, I think Shane's best quality is his leadership ability. He's a Marine. He's a business owner. He has a very dynamic personality. He's a task-oriented, get things done kind of guy. So I think that his leadership ability is right at the top of his list of strengths. So that to me is what one of the most important things needed in developmental services was a strong leader. What I campaigned on and what I think that the city should do is some of its own economic development. CDF, Community Development Foundation, Three Rivers, the North Mississippi Development Association through TVA, they all do a wonderful job, but their job, by and large, is to attract major industries to our area. So what I thought the city of Tupelo should be doing, and I think Shane's a great fit for it because of his background with CDF and economic development, is actively recruiting businesses to the city of Tupelo to create that inventory of both houses and commercial businesses that was discussed at the revitalization meeting on April 21st, to create that inventory and to actively recruit businesses to get into um, those buildings, those properties too. So where you don't drive down the street and you see a bunch of empty buildings. So that's something that we are, changing with developmental services here in the city of Tupelo, is adding that active economic recruitment or economic development for the city of Tupelo, that we'll do that in conjunction with our partners in economic development. As far as the disaster recovery, I think Shane's primary focus is going to be, or his skill set is going to be communicating with the neighborhood associations, being that liaison, going back and forth, and then back to what I said to begin with, his leadership skills, in that his ability to manage people, to make sure that when we tell Joyner Neighborhood Association, when we tell Bel Air Neighborhood Association, when we tell Sharon Hills Neighborhood Association something, that it gets followed through, that the city does what it says it's going to do, and is responsible and accountable to those citizens for the redevelopment of their neighborhoods.
Sure. And I guess leading into these questions, I mentioned the fiscal year 2014 budget. So there's been a lot of things going on in the city, but the city has the legal requirement to pass the FY15 budget by September 15th. That's 2.5 months away. We're kind of walk us through where we're at now in terms of preparing for that budget. Also, do you anticipate any significant changes compared to the budget that you presented last year?
Yeah, you mentioned in your earlier question about when you take office July 1st and then you get into the budget, and it is, the state statutes, that's just how it's set up. But as far as a new mayor, new council members, you take office the first Monday in July. You're right into the 4th of July holiday, and then they change the MML convention to the second or third week of July during election years, and then by the time you get your feet on the ground, it's already August. So then you're talking about a month and a half to get through the entire budget process. But with that said, you get it done. The city of Tupelo is very lucky. I think we've got the best financial budget and accounting department in the state of Mississippi. They do a wonderful job. Mayor Reed did a great job in transition. So a lot of those the pieces of the puzzle were already in place. So then you get it done. As far as this year, I would say that it would be a little bit more of the same. I intend on taking the same approach to the budget, that we will not have a tax increase, that we will not, in the police department, separate issue, but as far as the operating fund, no tax increase, no new debt, and not utilizing our reserves to fund our operating budget, our general fund budget.
Yeah, and kind of following up on that question, and also bringing in something else that's been very much a discussion in the city in recent since you've taken office. Public transportation. I know that this is something that you've advocated. This is something that outgoing City Council President Nettie Davis has been a huge advocate for. Yesterday, the Transportation Committee met, and one of the items they discussed was asking for a line item in the budget you'll present for public transit. Is that an option that you're going to do for this budget? And tell us how you can see the city kind of moving forward with the idea of public transit.
To me, public transit's a separate issue. It could be a line item in the budget. I do not intend on including that and advocating for it in kind of the same manner that we went about with the in-house legal counsel position. That was an employee, a salaried position that included in the budget, and use that process to advocate for the creation of the in-house legal department. Transportation is not just a line item in the budget. That's a public policy. That's a public service. That's contracting on behalf of the city. Where whichever one of the two companies we went with, we'd have to enter into negotiations and contracts with that company. So I don't intend on just including it as a line item in the budget. I do intend on going before the council with authority for some type of transportation. You've got two different issues. One, which I don't think there's any debate over it, is there a need for some form of public transportation? Secondly, you get to what does the city provide? There's fixed routes, there's flex routes, there's needs-based, there's one that would just be for everyone. Then you can look at more of for the elderly, handicapped, disabled. So you get into those whole debates of one, do we need it, and two, what exactly is our need, and what is the city of Tupelo going to do to fill it? So uh, with those type complex issues, I don't think that the right approach would be simply to include that as a line item in the budget. I think the council would have to approve going forward with that project, giving us the authority to enter into a contract with one of these companies and then getting it in the budget.
Sure, and I certainly want to remind people that they can tweet any questions that they have. Uh, and looking at the time, it is just a few minutes after 2:30. We said that we were going to have a 30-minute program. Mayor, if you have a moment, maybe we can take one more question, or one more.
Sure.
You can answer one more question. Uh, so, this is the first council meeting at 6 o'clock today, and officially marking your second year in office. Tell us a little bit about any immediate plans you have moving forward for the city, maybe this year, and also long-term plans that you hope to accomplish before your term ends.
Well, the tornado, and you alluded to it in the article in the Sunday paper, but the tornado really is now priority number one. Redeveloping, revitalizing, Bristol Acres, Joyner, Sharon Hills, Rogers Drive, North Green Street, County Road 811 or Veterans Drive. Uh, that, along with North Gloucester, the business district, to me, that's priority number one. It will not be quick or easy, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it well. I think we have an opportunity with particularly North Gloucester Street to make that part of the city a destination in and of itself, to have a really vibrant, walkable, restaurants, retail, commercial business district, entertainment district there. So, that's my priority number one, is just to continue to oversee the disaster recovery effort and make sure that we come back even stronger than before.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking time today to join us in our first Daily Journal Google Hangout together. If we very much will invite you to participate again. And if anyone out there has any other questions, feel free to tweet or to send an email or other message. Mayor Shelton, I certainly, again, I appreciate you participating today, and perhaps you'll join us again.
No, absolutely, Robbie. Thank you. I've enjoyed it and be glad to do it anytime.
Okay, and for everyone out there who may have missed or didn't watch the entire broadcast, we will post the entire broadcast on journalpolitics.com shortly. And everyone out there, have a great day.